Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Roundup by blockchaingamer.biz. Today is Friday, the 10th of November, and I'm your host, Jenny Jordan, and with me is co-host John Jordan. Hi, John. How's it going?
Hello. How are you? Yes,
Hello.
very good.
Good. So, quite a lot of news again this week. Loads regarding Ronin. We have 9 Chronicles with their upcoming mobile release. We have some news surrounding Merry Circle. We have another game investment. We've been playing some games. We've been playing Zoids Wild Arena and Blocklords, but we'll talk more about those later. First off, ETH keeps going up. Crypto keeps going up generally. How does this affect blockchain gaming and the tokens and the projects? Can you talk us through a little bit, John, about the kind of general sentiment in crypto and Web3 gaming at the moment?
Yes, general sentiment. Yeah. So, I guess since so for historical reasons, everyone was hoping that October was going to be good, and everyone was talking about Uptober and all this sort of stuff because historically Bitcoin's always done well in October, and it sort of did well right at the start, and then it dropped back down again. And everyone was like, grumpy. But then sort of towards the end of October, there's all this. I mean, I think a lot of it is people trying to find reasons why things are going up, and things are just sort of going up rather than the fact that there's these Bitcoin ETFs, which I won't go into, but it's like a institutional investment sort of thing going on in the States that people think are going to happen, and that means more money is going to come into Bitcoin. So there is sort of some underlying sort of news that may be driving some of this. Obviously, there's just a cycle in the sense that crypto has been battered for the last year, and everyone who wants to sell has sold, and now the sort of only people who left are people who sort of want to buy, and particularly if they think of Bitcoin as a good long-term investment, and they see prices are much lower than they were, a year ago, certainly 2 years ago. So I think there's a sort of general cycle thing. I think what's interesting is a lot of people are. I mean, everyone's generally much happier than everyone likes to see their portfolio going up in green rather than going down in red. But everyone's a little bit nervous. So no one's really saying, "Oh, it's the bull market's back." Everyone's like, it's not the bull market yet. It's not the bull market yet. Don't sort of get your hopes up. But I think secretly, everyone's sort of like, it's the bull market. It's the bull market. So we'll sort of see how long.
People seem generally a bit more sober, looking back at sort of the previous boom, and in hindsight, understanding that it wasn't all good what happened then, and then sort of adopting through that market really, and saying this is actually for the good. And now we're swung back into sort of an uptake, and maybe people are a bit fearful that not fearful but worried that.
Well, I mean, I do think for every sort of boom and bust, there are you do sort of people leave the market. So there were people who were obviously wiped out by Terra going, but that was the start of it really in May 2022. Terra. No, 2021 was it? No, I can't remember. No, 2022. So Terra did wipe out people.
2022.
Yeah. So people did basically lose all their money. Not funny at all. And then obviously we just had an ongoing sort of down, and then FTX happened in November, and a whole bunch of people thought they'd lost their money. I think actually probably they'll all get their money back again. We will see. But again, people like to temp peg these things with nice sort of dates, and so I guess Sam Bankman-Fried has been found guilty now. We wait till his sentencing, but I think people very much feel like those bad actors have been like flushed out the system, and whether that's true or not, a lot of bad actors have been flushed out the system. FTX, Terra, Celsius, BlockFi, they were not all bad actors, but there was probably 3 Arrows Capital were probably.
Who's next on the list? I wonder.
Well, there's not anyone left. I mean, this is the whole thing. There's literally, I mean, there's been a lot of fun about Binance. Binance is still there. Binance and Coinbase are heavy in. If basically, if something bad was seen at Coinbase, even that wouldn't be fatal for crypto. But I think Coinbase is very much sort of now surveys the battlefield, the smoking battlefield, and just sees, we're the only serious players left. So anyway, when it comes to gaming, it is the case clearly that most games are on Ethereum or EVM chain. So if Ethereum's doing well, then there's a general sort of everyone's doing well. And Ethereum in particular over the last week has gone from whatever it was under 1,800 to just hit 2,100 yesterday. So that's a pretty significant sort of boost, and I guess the interesting thing is people talk about a rising tide floats all ships, and it's not quite true yet. I don't think so. It's not like everything's up the same percentage as Ethereum was. Some things have done super well, And I guess that's the interesting thing, where you sort of in these sort of situations, everything's going to do okay. Some things are going to do really well, and some things are going to sort of blow it out. So we guess we've not investment advice clearly, but just from the numbers, what we've seen at the moment, Merit Circle, who we'll talk about, have done really well, because sometimes it's sort of funny when a market uptick happens, when projects were always going to announce these things anyway. They're not announcing them because the market's gone up. They're announcing them because they've completed the product. So we'll talk a bit maybe about Beam, their L2 sort of going live, and some news around that. And clearly, again, Ronin, we'll talk about that, and Sky Mavis. And so stuff that's coming to fruition now. We've just had Shrapnel launch its token this week. That's not done particularly well, but they've just launched their token big time. Again, token's not done that well, but they launched that fairly recently. So those are sort of ones where you could imagine, because the games are coming out and people are onboarding, and there may be utility in those tokens, and maybe not. We'll sort of find out. But around, sort of the news cycle is around those sort of projects, because they're going live. So they're always going to do probably a bit better. So Merit Circle's done really well. Immutable's done pretty well. Ronin as well. So we'll sort of see. But just generally, everyone's feeling happier, and when everyone's happier, people are a bit more confident to sort of maybe think they can raise money. So next year will be lots of companies sort of need to raise money, really. But it's easy to raise money when numbers are going up, and those companies are making more money, or feel like they can point to other projects and say, these guys have just onboarded 100,000 players, so we can, why can't we do the same? Why can't we do 1 million? Obviously with the ambition there. So and the longer this sort of sentiment lasts, then obviously the more it sort of builds. But it's sort of I think at the moment everyone's just feeling a little bit relieved, I think, probably.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about Ronin, and you've already mentioned it. Obviously, they have just kept on building throughout the bear market and released, and they've kind of met all the stages on the roadmap and delivered. They are now trying to label themselves. Well, Skyrim, this is kind of the king of the gaming chains out there, like that they want to be top, and it's not actually without reason. Looking at last week was a busy week. Pixels went live on Ronin, and we sort of seen the fruits from that this week. Can you tell us a bit more about that? And also, they had the open beta launch of Wild Forest and Zoids Wild Arena that migrated from Polygon to Ronin is also live on there now. So dive into Ronin a little bit, particularly around Pixels, because that's the sort of big release this week.
I mean, again, going back to what I say, people would go, "Oh, what a great sort of strategy that Sky Mavis did, announcing all this stuff going live." And now this week when crypto's going up, but this has been like these sort of things have been a year in the making, or certainly sort of months in the making. And and I've always been I know the Sky Mavis people fairly well, so I'm quite friendly with them. So why wouldn't I say that? But I've always been fairly bullish on them, and everyone was slamming them for actually being terrible and them getting hacked, and it's just like they've raised enough money that they can. I think I maybe made this figure up, but I seem to remember Jeff saying they had enough money for 15 years or something. I mean, they have that company is basically. I wouldn't say it can't go bust, because every company can go bust, but basically in the short term, that company, unless it does something extraordinarily stupid, it basically can't go bust. So it's just it has a roadmap of what it's building. Maybe we could argue about whether that roadmap is exactly as we think it should be, but they're just building out this stuff. They're building out Axie Infinity. They're building out the Ronin blockchain. They're building out loads of games around Axie. They have this whole publishing arm, but they're building, whatever they got now, a dozen or so games that are going to launch on Ronin. So there's just a lot going on now. And they have done the whole thing building. They've been building through the bear. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but they absolutely have been doing a lot of stuff in the last year when no one sort of cared less about it. And I guess the interesting bit about it is, they have control over Ronin. It is their own blockchain. I don't like this sort of king of the gaming blockchains. I think it's nice for people. If the community came up with that and started using it, then that's fine. I think it's top down marketing. I think can be a bit clunky, really. But anyway. And it's interesting, I guess, that what we've seen with Zoids and Pixels are two games that were live on the Polygon blockchain. In general, there's been, even though Polygon is still the biggest blockchain for gaming, there's been quite a big move of games. Some of the more high-profile games have moved from Polygon to other chains. That's partly because Polygon has taken a step back on its business development, so it's sort of done a deal with Immutable, and sort of Immutable does the business development side of it, and Polygon is much more focused now on tech and blockchain, and it's got it's basically rebuilding its own blockchain for ZK rollups and all that. Blah, blah. So what is interesting is Ronin has obviously provided an opportunity now for some of these games, which are pretty good games. I've played Ronin, a bit of Pixels. I wouldn't say they're the best games out there, but they are pretty functional and good as games. And because Ronin's been knocking around with people playing Axie on it, but that's it. I think clearly there is a demand for people who have played Axie in the past, have set up wallets, maybe have some token value in there, just waiting for there's a new game coming out. Okay, let me just check it out. Obviously at its peak, I think 1 million people had played Axie. Maybe even more than that through the wallets. I can't remember how many wallets they had. They had 3 million people playing it in general, off chain, on chain. I think about 1 million wallets, if I recall. So a lot of people have accessed Ronin blockchain. And so I think with Pixels, that's been around for a while as a project. It has its own community. It's a bit, for me, maybe a little bit twee, I suppose. It's very sort of pixelated, social RPG. So you sort of go around and there's a social area where you can chat to people, and it's sort of farming elements. So you sort of play. You have you don't have to have an NFT. You can sort of play, and you have a little farm, and you can, create these resources and then sell the resources or do crafting and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. So they have their own quite tight community, and already they were saying I think 5,000 people there are paying $10 a month for have like a VIP status. That's nothing on the blockchain. That's just like a normal VIP status in a free-to-play game. So they have a sort of core community there. So combine that core community with people on Ronin who haven't had any other games to play than Axie Infinity, and they're three days in, I think now, and they're up to like 55,000 DAUs. So it's on-chain wallets. So that's pretty good. I mean, obviously it's not 1 million like Axie had, but for a game that no one was really taking seriously last week, they're the headline this week.
Now they did used to say that they were the biggest game on Polygon as well when they were there.
Maybe they were. I don't know, but as you well know through your tracking of games, the biggest game one week is not the biggest game next week. We had Planet X was massive. If it was doing something, Sunflowers has been massive. When Hunters on Chain did its first token drop, that was like 50,000. So that's the sort of problem. It's the sustained volume you have.
No, but that's what I mean. So these news now, just to put it in perspective, kind of that they're booming on Ronin sort of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they do this week, and then next week it's back down. So
we'll see. I mean, it's not. But even if they sustain it like 20,000 daily active unique wallets, that's more than they've had on Polygon before.
So, and like you said, with the monthly subscribers, paying 10 a month. That's 5,000. It's a good doing that.
I think and I think the other thing is when it comes to sort of cycles, if we assume that sort of prices don't sort of crash down again, then you will find that there is that sort of organic virality that you do get through when crypto prices are going up. People are just like, what's this thing? Can I make money? Just people are much more interested in blockchain and crypto when prices are going up than when they're going down. So, in previous cycles, we've sort of seen, games like Splinterlands go from, I remember it went from 10,000 daily active unique wallets to 300,000 or something ridiculous, and that was not, they were doing marketing and stuff like that, but they were marketing to a audience who were just like, what's this crypto stuff? What do let me find out. Can I make money? So you can 10x your audience by not anything really you've done yourself, just by the cycle. So, so I'm not sure Pixel itself is a game I think it's a good niche game that can appeal to people, and those people do like those sort of social games, but I'm not sure I would say it's a necessarily mass market game in the same way that some of the other Ronin stuff could be. Zoids is quite nice, trading card game. I mean, those are again a bit niche, but the integration to the Ronin blockchain I think is quite interesting. In some ways, more interesting than the Pixels one. Just played a little bit.
Talk us through that, because I've only been playing the mobile version, which is like a Web 2, TCG traditional. What's the blockchain and how does that work? How do you connect?
We tried to do it on the mobile app and we couldn't quite work it out, could we? But you have to do it through the browser. So I played the PC version, and you basically have to obviously sign in with your Ronin account to connect it, and then if you want to do the blockchain stuff, you have to sign in with your Ronin wallet. So it's a trading card game. So typical, you can buy in Zoids, you can buy packs of cards and unlock them, and they put them into your deck, and you can level them up, and They have a currency called metal, which is a paid, what we call a hard currency. So you would buy that in the game, with your credit card, as most free to play mobile games. And so the blockchain bit is, it's not live yet. So the moment where you can spend Ronin, the Ron token, cryptocurrency, and use that to buy metal in the game. So instead of using a credit card, you can use Ron. You can also, I don't know exactly how this happens. I haven't done it yet, but you can mint NFTs. So I'm guessing most games do this by, you can level up your in-game, off-chain assets to a certain level, and then you can mint them into NFTs. You'll probably pay, again, transaction fee to do that. And then once they're NFTs, obviously you own them, and you can sell them on the Mavis marketplace, which is the marketplace for the whole Ronin blockchain. So there's already a few cards on there. And actually, as normally happens, if you buy one card in the game, it's $3 for one card, and it's a random one. You don't know what you get. On the marketplace, the cheapest ones are under $2 for you're buying a specific card. So there's sort of different retailing going on.
Well, you get what you want then.
Yeah.
Specifically.
But obviously, if you're buying a super tricked out, very rare card, that might. I mean, there's cards on there for thousands of dollars. Whether anyone's buying them for thousands of dollars, I would doubt at the moment. But that opportunity is there. So the only other thing I would say, but they're locking the blockchain stuff in Zoids. So you have to buy, I can't remember, it's got a crafter's license or something. I don't, maybe it's not that exact word, but you have to spend $10 to sort of upgrade your account to use the NFT. So there's sort of, people are very worried about bots and all this sort of stuff. So they want to have like an anti-spam measure in there. So you spend $10 to get in the NFT stuff, and most people, are not going to make $10 in terms of trading policy. It's just like putting some friction in the system, so people aren't trying to abuse the system, which is something you have to be aware about in these things. So we'll see how that goes. I was quite impressed with their integration.
You might potentially then attract Web 2 players who won't pay those £10 and won't interact at all with NFTs, will just play the game. Yep. Is it a good game standalone, for Web 2? Is it sort of something that would attract players?
Well, as we often discuss, trading card games are just really, I think they're a really niche market. So this one is definitely more on the simple side, so it's easy to get into. But then obviously that means it doesn't probably quite have the depth of some of the other games. So I don't think it's a mass market game. Zoids is a kids toy brand, so obviously you get some appeal from that. It's very well put together game. A little bit slow, I found, I think it's sort of a solid game rather than one that you expect to do sort of gangbusters.
Mm-mm. Cool. And so, like we mentioned, also the first real-time strategy game has also launched open beta on Ronin this week. Wild Forest from Cillian Wales. They're excuse me. The studio behind the Mushroom Wars series. They're making mobile games. This is a single screen sort of game where everything happens, so you don't have to scroll the screen. And but there was something there where they'd gone out and said to people not to buy NFTs because it's all going to get wiped after this open beta phase. So just beware of that.
Season 0. So I couldn't actually work out. I've only played the first sort of tutorial, so I couldn't really work out where the blockchain was at this point. But yeah, they have said everything's going to be wiped. So even though they are doing NFTs, they're as you can do, you can basically sort of fork. Well, we're going to, but you can basically sort of, they're not permanent blockchain things, which I think is always can be a little bit dangerous for people because people don't read the notes of the game.
Well, you might upset some players, well, that wasn't obvious to them. Anyway, let's move on. We've got 9 Chronicles from South Korean game studio Planetarium. We've been talking about them quite a lot in the recent weeks, I think, because they are launching on mobile on the 22nd of November. Now, this hasn't been made entirely clear, but it's actually like it is the game based on 9 Chronicles, but this new version, mobile version, is going to be called 9 Chronicles M. And not just that, they've also just revealed a few days ago that they're launching a new blockchain in conjunction with the mobile launch. So this blockchain will be called Heimdall in Norse mythology. It's a brother of Odin, I think, which
Son.
Odin is the
Son of-
blockchain, their own blockchain that the current Nine Chronicles PC-based version is running on. And now with this release, they want to basically increase the capacity for more on-chain transactions, because Nine Chronicles is running fully on-chain, and a few other reasons that they're mentioning. Now it's just a little bit difficult to get your head around, because you can sign up if you start playing the mobile version, Nine Chronicles M. You can also play the PC version on this new blockchain, Heimdall. It's basically this new release will release with a new blockchain, and previous players who have been playing the PC Nine Chronicles will still be on Odin, but they can also play a mobile version. Is that right?
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I got that wrong.
No. I'm shaking my head at the confusing nature of it. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah.
And I guess I don't know why this has sort of come out now, when clearly this was the plan sort of all along, you know. So you're exactly right. There is a version of Nine Chronicles that has been running for 3 years, and that has been a PC version only. That's the only way you can play it. And so then they announced, we're doing a mobile version of Nine Chronicles, and then they said we're going to call this Nine Chronicles M. So obviously the assumption was this is going to be, you know, sort of the same game, but you can play it on PC and mobile, and maybe, you know, sort of, you know, have your old account into your new account. Basically, what they decided, and what they decided probably long ago, was the Nine Chronicles M is going to run on this new blockchain. And to be fair to Planetarium, which is the developer, South Korean developer, they've been around since 2018. They've always said, we basically, you know, we run our own blockchain, and we sort of believe every game should have its own blockchain. So they're sort of they're odd from that point of view. They're not using. I don't really know what it's based on. Or maybe, you know, I literally have no idea what their blockchain's based on, and how the validators are running or anything like that. But it's sort of fair enough that they've sort of said, you know, we want a new blockchain to run this game, and it's going to be faster, and so it's sort of better, and maybe it's sort of more. I don't really think you make a blockchain more accessible for mobile devices or not, but there may be some things around mobile that they sort of wanted to particularly build into the blockchain. But of course, that means that you have two separate blockchains now. So I imagine, I was an early player of Nine Chronicles, but I lost my account details, so I can't log into it anymore. So I'm not it doesn't affect me sort of personally, but I had a level 100 character in there, and I can imagine some players like that would be a bit annoyed if they think, well, I've got a lot of assets in this game that I've been playing, but the growth of the game now is going to be focused towards this new version, Nine Chronicles M. All these new players are going to be onboarding to this new version, and they can also play it on PC. It's not like they can just play it on mobile. So both versions go sort of cross-platform now. But maybe they've spent money buying tokens, or all that value I've got in that game is now sort of locked, because no one's going to be going back and playing the original version. Because why would you do that? You play the better version that's faster on the better blockchain, wouldn't you? So I think there is a sort of I guess it's like a community disconnect there. It'll be interesting to see how they do that, because they could have a bridge between the two. A bridge is just basically you sort of take you take one asset off one blockchain and you sort of lock it into a contract, and you reissue it on the other one. So those are not, they're a security issue because they always get hacked. but for a game like this, probably wouldn't matter that much. But it's sort of annoying that I might have say a level 100 character that I built up, and he's got all his great gear and everything, and he's just stuck now in a game where he still works in that game, but I basically, in some ways it's sort of nice. Everyone starts from scratch at zero on this new version if they're interested in the game, but you would kind of think at some point probably they will have to think about compensating people who have put a lot of time and money into it. Because the other thing, obviously, they have a token live. It's the wrapped Nine Chronicles Gold token. On a new blockchain, you'll have to have a whole new token, so you sort of split your liquidity there as well. So I can see why they've done it, but and I wouldn't say I would. And I can see if I was a game developer that I would make that same decision, but I think they've been a bit weak on the communication around it. It's a bit late in the day, given that this new version goes live in 2 weeks' time. So I can imagine that some people in the community are sort of rightly a bit peeved about it. They've probably been better off maybe just sort of saying the original version is sort of shutting down now, and we'll move everything over. I mean, the only way it could work out nicely is sort of you don't have the legacy game is sort of like these are the OG characters. You'll never see those again. The art style's different on the new one, so there is this sort of cool nature of owning these other things. But then you have to be able to take those characters from the old game into the new game. And so at that point, the old game becomes interesting because that's the only way you can get these old characters, these old OG characters. But you have to be able to bring them into the new game for them to have sort of status and stuff. So maybe they're going to announce that later on, but that seemed a little bit odd to me.
Okay. We've already hinted a little bit about Merit Circles launching publicly their subnet Beam. And with that, they've also onboarded 4 new games. Age of Battles, DAUWs, Guns of Balatron, and Rumble Arcade from Finnish Tribo Games. And it seems like Merit Circle has 16 games and their sort of ecosystem at the moment. When you go on the Beam platform, however, they have all sort of massive range of games, like hundreds Web3 games, and so it's not exactly clear when you go on this platform. Are you playing the games through there? Sort of, is it like a launch pad? Is it just a way of highlighting Web3 games? I know you were a bit confused about what's going on there. So
yeah, Merit Circle are sort of I cover them quite a lot. I think they're an interesting sort of outfit. They're sort of like started out as a DAO, doing sort of scholarships for Axie. Stopped that obviously fairly quickly. They have sort of quite a strong investment arm. Done a lot of investments into games. Now they sort of they make their own game. This Eden Horde I've played, and then they have this own infrastructure. I think the infrastructure thing was sort of, does the world need another blockchain? And clearly the fact that there's more and more blockchains coming out is people think they do. And maybe the example of something like Ronin, shows that if you have, owning your own infrastructure is a very valuable thing if you can get it right. But clearly not every blockchain that launches is going to find product market fit or users. So we'll see with Beam. It's just gone live. As you say, it has a bunch of games. A lot of those are games that have been knocking around for a while on other chains. So a little bit like a Ronin, sort of, I think games that have been unloved are sort of trying to find, some like a I'm not sure Beam has a strong community yet, but like another opportunity to find audience. To me, none of those, the ones that I've seen, none of them sort of jump out at me. It was like, wow, I've got to play this game. Apart from the Eden Horde one, but that's a trading card game, so quite how broad that will go.
We know you love those, John.
Not quite sure. So yeah, and then as you say, it's sort of a bit confusing. They have their own infrastructure, but then they have this sort of discovery hub, which has just got all the usual games from all the different blockchains. So I mean, the world definitely doesn't need another discovery hub, as far as I can see. There's loads out there, and they're all sort of doing the same thing. It's not very clear that any of them are actually being very successful at the moment. So, I mean, we'll see interesting business models that people are building into them. And then they have this marketplace called Sphere, which again appears to be not just running all the Beam stuff. I mean, most of that's not live yet, but it seems to most of the stuff isn't live yet, but they seem to be suggesting that you'll be able to sort of buy NFTs on from Polygon and stuff like that as well. And again, does the world need another marketplace? So we'll see how they get on. I think from my point of view that if you're building a new blockchain, then all your focus probably should be focused on getting everything on that blockchain, and the fact that you can buy Mojo Melee characters through this marketplace is I can do that anywhere. So
good,
we'll see.
Good. That leads us on to John. Thank you. We need to speed up. That leads us on to Mojo Melee.
It's your hat that's influencing me.
I am wearing the hat today because there was some news actually. Run Mystic Moose this week. They have expanded the distribution and launched on Congregate, but that's not all. They are now preparing for the next season, which is launching on the 16th of November, which is called Frozen Fate. With that season, they are also launching this Mojo Maker, which I think is quite a milestone for the developer. So they've already launched their Modable Mojos, which are sort of customizable NFTs, which you can use in game. But now you can obviously customize them, and then So either to use in game as your own kind of characters, or to sell on their own marketplace. So that's exciting, and they look quite good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the little Mojo characters. So the Mojo Melee is an auto chess battler, and sort of the Mojos are the sort of signature characters. You always have to have a Mojo in a battle, and they sort of have special sort of powers, and then they have these other sort of more sort of generic sort of what they call them, champions who they play with. But the Mojos is sort of yeah, they are really sort of well designed little sort of what do you call them, sort of naturistic sort of characters. They're based around sort of nature and stuff. So that's definitely, you know, the strong point of that game. So it's interesting to see what they'll do with them. Obviously, but they did a little sort of demo of this sort of Mojo Run sort of mobile game that they could be doing like an endless runner. I think the little Mojo characters have quite a lot of opportunity around them. So the ability to sort of put funny clothes on them and accessories and stuff is we'll look forward to that.
We also had an investment this week into the Ethereum-based, fully on-chain space sci-fi game, The Citadel, which is like a sci-fi world, I think. And it's quite an ambitious project, running fully on-chain, like I said. They have raised 3.3 million in a seed funding round. But apart from that, it's been quite quiet around investments this week.
I would say, I mean, you always have to think with investments, when someone announces it, it's happened like at least a month before, maybe 2 months before. So it's sort of a lagging indicator. So you sort of think that 2 months ago, was everyone happy? No, they weren't. Everyone was very grumpy about crypto. So the fact that everyone's happy now means that, you know, we wouldn't really expect those announcements to happen until early next year. So I would say, probably that's the time to start, when we would start to see announcements.
Good. And you've been talking to MetaKing Studios CEO David Johansson about Blocklords, a game I only just started playing this week, and so far I'm really liking it. It's kind of a lot of just farming and grinding and learning the basics of the game so far, but I think the graphics beautiful. I just really like the scenery, the characters, everything. Tell us about him and what he sort of talked more about.
Yeah, it's good actually. I quite enjoyed it. I mean, I've not known him. I've not spoken to him before, I don't think actually, but I've known Blocklords since played the very early version, sort of 20. I think the video is 2019, 2020. Can't remember. But it was like a 2D version, and they sort of very early on they actually paused it in 2020 and sort of went to do some other stuff, and then sort of came back to it in 2021. Raised 15 million, I think, to set up the studio. And actually, I would say this version of Blocklords that's live PC game on through the Epic Game Store. It's actually a very, very sort of early version of the game in terms of the functionality of the game. It's just farming, which is it's sort of frankly a bit boring, I would say. So battles are sort of there's different forms of battles. So the first battles will be PvE, so basically just fighting, just fighting, you're not fighting other players, you're just fighting sort of in the environment. So that will come in, I think they're saying December, and then these bigger stronghold battles where you might start fighting other people will come in next year. They have this whole bunch of dynasty stuff, so you have these, you sort of this at the moment there's not a lot of functionality for NFTs, so they call the NFTs heroes. When you start the game, you get a free NFT at the moment. If you want to buy one, they're about $4, I think. And at the moment, they sort of give you little boosts in the game for your farming, so not a lot of functionality, but they're going to allow you to have these dynasties, so you can marry them together, and they can have kids, and blah, blah, blah. So there's some interesting stuff there. And then at the very high level, there are these very expensive characters, NFTs called Lords and Ladies, which they're selling off. I think they've only sold off 30 of them at the moment, and the cheapest has been like $1,000 or something. But they have the ability to sort of control regions and set taxes, and there'll be a whole sort of meta game level for those very high level players who'll sort of be trying to drop their taxes to get more farmers into their area, because when they get more farmers, they're getting more resources, and they'll have their own sort of battles and stuff as well. So it's this is very much the starting point of a game that's going to be changing quite a lot in 2024. So it was interesting to chat about that and his vision for it. And this is the sort of game, nothing to do with blockchain really. This is the sort of games he sort of loves. So in the non-blockchain world, there's well-known series called Total War, which is based by Creative Assembly in the UK, and that's been going for like 20 years. There's Paradox in Sweden has a game series called Crusader Knights, I think, which David actually worked on a little bit, one of the games. So this is sort of a genre he has real passion for, and really is interested in sort of bringing. And I would say it's also a genre because it's a lot about grinding and a lot about time and a lot about resources and a lot about putting in a lot of time and building stuff up. It actually works quite well with blockchain because those are assets. Some of those assets clearly are going to be things that are going to be very valuable in the game. And we talked a little bit about at some point does all of that stuff go on chain? And he's sort of like, well, definitely not at the moment, but you could see over the span of a decade as blockchains get better that all that stuff could be in there, but it's very complicated because you can trade between different resources in the game, and as soon as you start making all that on blockchain, you don't have much control. The market has control, so the whole thing can blow up. So they're very I think rightfully cautious about that.
Yeah,
but it's definitely
you get the impression that it's not just the game it seems very good, but also their approach to sort of launching and distribution. So they're sensible and cautious. And
exactly. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that, and I mean, it's what we often end up talking about. Well, there's all these trading card games in blockchain because that it's sort of ownership of cards works really easily on a blockchain. And to be frank, they're quite easy to make. There's not a lot of artwork. It's more about the theme of the trading card game. Is it fantasy or pirates or what? But these are the big strategy games. These take a long time to build. So it's just nice almost to see these sort of very traditional game genres start to be fulfilled in a proper manner. So.
Good. Well, lovely. We're gonna round up there and say thank you very much for listening to us this week, and we'll see you all next week again. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.